Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Elizabeth and I run the blog lifefromtheviolasection.com where I share my favorite practice tips, general advice, and tech for musicians. I recently just updated my blog and it looks really nice and fancy now. So if you would like to check out the blog, now is a great time to do so, and I will have pictures and more detailed instructions of everything that I talk about in this video on the corresponding blog post, which is always down in the description box. So today I want to share with you one way that you can kind of plan out the progression of your learning leading up to a performance. So kind of scheduling when you want to learn different concepts so that you can be performance ready on time. So what we'll do today is fill out a calendar kind of backwards from the performance date to whenever you want to get started to see kind of when you should plan to have certain concepts learned by. So let's just dive in. All right, so different setup. Sorry if the sound is a little bit different. I didn't like the way that I did this the first time, so we're just gonna reset. So what we're gonna do first is a practice plan for someone who is more professional, semi-professional, or professional. I'm thinking like a senior recital in college if you're doing a music performance degree. So the first time that I filmed this, I got way too into the specifics of this. So instead, let's go through more of the basics of like learning something. So the timing for this might be totally off. I am just showing you how you can organize this. So let's say that the performance is in March. It's the last Saturday of the month. All right, so we are going to label our weeks. So week of, and then 1 week until, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before, 4 weeks before, and we will go on and on like that. So first, week of the performance, what do you want to be able to do well? So we'll say things like full run-throughs, rehearsals with pianist, and maybe you have a dress rehearsal the week of. Sorry, that R kind of disappeared. And fixed spots that aren't going super well. So maybe 1 week before the performance, you want basically the same things, except, you know, you might not have a dress rehearsal the week before. So let's go to 2 weeks before. Maybe you want everything memorized by this point that you need to, if you need to. Run-throughs of each piece. Maybe not, you know, all together as a full recital, the full hour, but at least, you know, I can play through this full sonata. I can play through this full Bach suite, something like that, where you can play through each individual thing, but then saving the full run through of everything for week before, week of. I would say week before, just so that you can get your stamina down. Maybe not every time that you practice, but maybe once or twice per week might be good. Okay, so then 3 weeks before, fix up trouble spots and get those generally feeling good. Maybe some more run-throughs, like starting to really be able to go through, but still, you know, really fixing things that you need. That is always very important. Pacho says hi. He's like, what? Why can't I see myself on her phone? This is so weird. Usually I see other cats. He really likes my Apple Pencil. He loves playing with it. Okay, 3 weeks until the recital. Let's say that you also want to like 2/3 of it memorized. Okay, then 4 weeks before, focusing more on problem spots. Put movements together and like 1/3 of it memorized, something like that. Now let's skip back a little bit. I don't know how far we should go. Let's say weeks 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So maybe week 11, or, you know, it could be like week 20 or so. I don't know. Doing something like this requires a lot of kind of knowing how long it's going to take you to learn something. So that comes with a lot of practice and a lot of different performances. So that can be a little hard to imagine for yourself. But let's go from earliest, like chronological order now. So say this is your first week of learning. So start with like the first page of your sonata or whatever you're starting to learn, and like a movement of your Bach piece if you're doing like Bach, suite, a sonata, and a concerto. And maybe this first week you have also, maybe you've learned your concerto before, so you review the first movement of your concerto. Okay, and then the second week, maybe you start second page of your concerto. Sorry. Start with like the third movement of your Bach, thinking of what's the hardest, what's going to take the longest, and then what is the easiest, which will probably hopefully take the least amount of time. Thinking of it in terms like that, sorry, I bumped him, can help you plan what to start with first. Start with the hardest thing and then bring in the easier things. He really likes this pencil. Okay, so then maybe this week you review the first and second movements of your concerto. And then this third week, review what you've learned so far and add on another movement and another movement. So you can see how this kind of goes between like hardest thing and then sequencing in the easier things as you go, and make sure that you've had an adequate amount of time for everything that's going to be on this recital or this performance. Let's totally switch gears now because that was very tedious, and let's do a beginner piano performance. So I'm just gonna look in my piano adventures, lesson book, level 2A. Let's look at one of the last pieces in here. How about sword dance? Sword dance is 25 measures long, and it's in D minor. It does not have a key signature because they haven't taught like key signatures with sharps and flats in them. They've only used accidentals throughout. So let's say that you were learning this for a performance. This is going to be a lot more straightforward. It's one piece, 25 measures long. So let's say it's March again. Performance is the same day. We want to do run-throughs. Record yourself. Focus. Let's say focus on dynamics and articulations. Sorry, my handwriting just is not great today. I don't know why. Okay, so that's week of kind of just reviewing things. Now 1 week until. Do some run-throughs again. Record yourself some more. And maybe practice transitions. Okay, so these 2 weeks, we've got it basically performance ready. All right, so 2 weeks until, we want to make sure we have good transitions. So there are some spots where we change hand positions, we go through different octaves, and we just want to be sure that those things are well coordinated and put things together. So if you've been practicing from like measures 1 to 8 and then 8 to 16 and then 16 to the end, then start putting those chunks together to create the full song. Let's say 3 weeks until, maybe practice with metronome, practice in chunks. Listen to make sure that you're playing it right. And finally, maybe we were up until this point playing hands separately, so let's put hands together. Okay, so now 1 week earlier, week 4, we're practicing hands separately with a metronome, listening to be sure that it is going right. Map out where your hands move and where they're placed, those kinds of things. It's kind of getting into the basics of learning it. So now 1 month before, this is 5 weeks before the performance. Let's say that this is when it was introduced. So listen to it first, get to know what it sounds like, what the characteristics of it are, hands separately, practice in chunks, and just learn what the notes and rhythms are. Okay, so now we have a plan for when we should start learning it. So it seems like last week of February is about when to start learning this. So we introduce it then in February, and then through March, we start by practicing it hands separately with a metronome for the notes and the rhythms. Listen to it, map out where your hands go. The next week, keep practicing with a metronome, practice it in chunks, listen, put it hands together now. 2 weeks before, make sure that your transitions move smoothly, put chunks together so that you can play the whole thing. Then 1 week until, start running through it, record yourself to listen to it and see if what you're playing sounds like the way that it should. Not particularly that it sounds exactly like the recording that you listened to, but just that the notes and rhythms are right, and maybe you've put your own kind of spin on it because you are a different performer, but make sure that things are going right. And then of course, practice those transitional spots where we're moving our hands or where things change a bit. That's where where a lot of us tend to mess up often. And then week of, practice run-throughs, keep recording yourself, and focus on those finishing touches like dynamics and articulations. So that could be a plan if you are more of a beginner and you're learning something a bit more compact, a bit smaller, and if you have a teacher, then they will hopefully introduce you to a piece that you're performing with enough time to learn it and feel really comfortable about it. So this can be helpful if you are a beginner performer, if you're an advanced performer, if you just need to figure out when to start learning something, or if you have that kind of paralysis when you know that you need to learn something but you don't know where to start. This can help you just decide somewhere to start and then have general goals for yourself week to week. And it's also helpful if you are a conductor and you're planning out rehearsals leading up to a performance, thinking of what is going to take the most time to learn, what will take the least time to learn, and then kind of sequencing it in that way. So I hope that this helps you for your next performance if you decide to try it out. If you've ever tried something like this, let me know down below and tell me how it went for you, if you do it any differently, if you have any tips. I'm sure that would be helpful for so many people. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel or giving it a thumbs up. I really, really appreciate it, and I will see you again very soon. Thanks for watching.